Alright guys, welcome back. We are watching Koimonogatari episode 5, Hitagi End part 5. Still don't know why it's called Hitagi End, that's for sure. At this point, I don't know, I guess I kind of have an idea why it could be called that, but well, maybe we'll talk about it, who knows. Last time, Hanakawa came back, finally, thank god, it's been like 30 episodes, but she has returned. Her hair looks great. She's here to share some information with Kaiki, because she perhaps knows more about the situation than he does. Maybe. I'm very interested in what she will say that could maybe change Kaiki's view of things. I don't know. I'm worried. I feel like we're on a crash course here. Cause on a collision course, I guess would be the better word. Cause I don't know if Kaiki knows what's going on with Nadeko yet. But he saw the closet. But again, I mean, I did this last time too. He saw the closet, so it has to be the closet, right? It has to be the closet. Maybe Kaiki already knows. Maybe Kaiki has a plan. Maybe Kaiki will. Maybe he'll be fine. Maybe I'm down him too much. You never know. You never know. So yeah, I don't know. We're watching episode 5. I am down. I am ready. Second to last episode of this arc. Let's get started. We are watching episode 5. You can line and copy up with this if you want to. We are starting in 3, 2, 1. Okay, okay. Lots of information about it. I wish it snowed where I live, but it, like, never does. It gets really cold, but it never snows. Interesting. How much does Hanakawa know about, like, the specifics, really? Oh. Oh, yeah, all that stuff that we don't know anything about, right? Oh, great. So now Kaiki knows, and we don't get to. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Hmm. Oh. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Okay, and that is somehow relevant to the situation now? It must be, right? Yeah. Because of the shrine. Okay, okay. Um, you're missing a step in there. You're missing a step in there with Ogi. Ooh, innocent, right? Huh. I think I agree that she's innocent, in a sense. Ooh, her reflection. Sure, yeah. Expect too much of a child, huh? Someone was snubbed. That's what she wanted. Sure. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. That makes sense. And of course, Hanakawa, I think, would be someone who can understand that. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, it makes you wonder if Oshino had a deeper understanding too. But is that really the heart of the issue, right? Sure. I suppose. Okay. Yeah, if you put it that way. That makes sense. Of course, he's the bad guy, right? Obviously. He would never save anyone, I'm sure. Hmm. Oh, interesting. Right, because he's thought about her being a god. How she seems happy. Yeah. Hmm. That is an interesting perspective from him, I think. Right, right. Someone seeming happy, even. Yeah. Unlike Hanakawa would know, right? I'm sure. Interesting. Your vagabond way of life, huh? That is still an interesting thing that she wants to do, I think. For her as a character. A fair question, huh? But so many people doubting him, you know? Maybe not about his ability to deceive her, but the chance of him failing, right? Okay, okay. She seems so unsure. Exactly. Same thing like Ononoki said, right? The cost of failure. Oh, about Oshino's family. Doesn't have a family. Interesting. Oh, right, right. Ogi. Yeah, of course. Yeah. So Hanakawa knows about Ogi. Oh, God. Born to be all alone in the world. Huh. Oh, God. Uh-huh. Yeah, there sure is. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Okay. Like, come on. We're just gonna cut to the next scene. He's not gonna tell us anything. All right. Awesome. Good. Thanks, Kaiki. Thank you. It's gotta be important. Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. Oh. Interesting. He thinks it's very insignificant. That probably makes sense, right? Why? Oh, yeah. Why did he almost say it? Because it has to be something that is, in a way, relevant to her as a person. Like, something about her. Like, I've always thought it is in some way representative of, like, some kind of genuine part of her, something that she wants to hide from other people, right? And that's something that Kaiki himself wants to avoid showing others, too, right? He wants to play the villain for people. I still don't really know why he does. I just imagine it has something to do with just like the reason why he's the way he is, right? Something that happened with Gantoe in his past, all that kind of thing. So I think he can really relate to Nautico in a sense like that, probably. So I think him saying that the closet is something irrelevant that doesn't matter probably makes sense. Although then again, I mean the problem with that, right? The problem with that is that gives you the idea that Kaiki himself is like unaware of what he's doing almost. That it's less of an active effort for him to act this way. No, maybe that's wrong too. Maybe he thinks that it's just better for Nautico to be this way, like the way he is, right? He's aware of what he's doing. He just thinks it's better this way, right? And I guess he thinks that of Nautico too. That's why he thinks she should remain a god because she's happy that way. Okay, that makes sense to me. I should have read the lyrics. I kind of read them last time, but I know they're different. Visiting Nautico. Ebigami-sama. How exciting. Yeah. Little smirk. I'm sure it's real exciting. Wanted to read that one. You should stop giving it to her. Come on. It's awesome. Thank you. Right. The tiger burned it down. Ooh, interesting. The tree. Yeah. Wonder what he wanted to find there exactly. Oh, that's not Nubachiroka. Okay. Oh, right, right. Interesting. Okay. Sure. Oh, okay, so we met her several years before. I don't remember the timeline well enough of Numachi's like story about her connection with Kaiki. Yeah, that would be crazy. That would never happen. The day of the plan. Oh God. Okay. Oh. Ooh. Stopped snowing. Yeah, I'm sure it does. Okay. And continue your life of debauchery, as he put it. Oh, I love this track. Hmm. Yeah, responding to something I didn't mean. It's it's impossible for him to like be a person. That doesn't make any sense. I thank you. Okay. Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, because again, if the plan is to keep Naruto as a god forever, Aragi's not gonna like that still, right? And that's the real problem, is like how, in a way, that shows like how divided Kaiki and Aragi's mindsets are, right? Yeah. Right, yeah, because then he'll want to change it even more because it's something Kaiki put in place. Oh God, his the way he views relationships is so interesting. Sure. Yeah, I literally don't know what Aragi would say if he was faced with that, you know? Yeah, because that's kind of opposed to what Shinjogahara, like, has said is why she's in love with him anyway, you know? Like, hmm. Right, right. Never bargained once. I guess he doesn't bargain, does he? I suppose. Putting it off a lot, huh? Ooh, please do. Ooh. That's an interesting way to put it. Ugh. Yeah, is that worth it, you know? Those feelings? Sure. Happened with you, in a way, right? Something similar. But what's the point in life at all, if that's how you're gonna view everything, right? Was it really mean? I don't think he was thinking of it as mean. I think it was very genuine from him, honestly. Sure, yeah, and then it's way worse than before, right? I mean, so little time left. Oh, maybe. Ooh, what? Something for him to not be around here again? Oh, okay, okay. Interesting. Yeah, yeah. So interesting. Because I don't know if he wants that or not, right? You know what I mean? Right, right. You can't blame her for feeling like that, of course, right? I just don't know how Kaiki feels about that. Interesting. Is that right? God, that was such a good scene. Oh God. What's up, Otonoki? Well, she's not Gaien. Come on. Exactly. A little bit of independence there, huh? I literally. Yeah, yeah. Huh. What are you doing? Okay. I wonder if if Guy Nezuko is like trying to play Kaiki with this. I wonder if Ononoki even knows. Ooh. Mysterious place. I'm sure. Yeah. Guy Nezuko seems like a pretty big figure in that world. Interesting. It's gotta be hard to fool someone who knows everything. Someone else's girlfriend. Phrasing it that way. Hmm. It doesn't have to be a relationship like that, right? Ooh, this isn't like you. Right. Okay. Oh, with that background shot. 2 years ago. Oh, like the religious, yeah, that cult. Okay, okay. Interesting. And Gahara doesn't know anything about that, right? Or does she? Oh, yeah. And how does Kaiki feel about that? It's like he fails every time he tries to do something for someone, you know? If that's really what his intention was, right? Like he's saying it's for money, but or will you? I was a failure. Right, right. Maybe their worries make more sense now, right? When he does something that isn't like Kaiki, you know? Yeah, yeah. Interesting. Is that why in episode 1 he had to like think of a reason? Oh, even back then. Interesting. Really? Yeah, God, he's so sarcastic. It's so impossible. Like he's so frustrating. But is that the truth of it, right? Maybe so, right? Maybe so. Obviously, he's talking about it so cynically and so. Oh, God. Yeah, he sounds so. Yeah, so happy about it, huh? Are you? Will you? Is that really how you feel? I don't believe that either. Sure, right? It's so hard to know. It's so hard to know, right? Yeah, it's like, does even Kaiki himself know why he's doing what he's doing? Ah, God. And for that reason, I know we're never gonna have a clear answer, right? Sure, but I guess the question is will it lead to a ending that he likes? Always fail. And not even fail at the actual thing, but the outcome isn't what he expects, right? He always fails in that sense. Okay. Right, no kidding. Yeah, yeah. Fragile. I guess the question is, was she ever really fragile? Or was he projecting himself onto her in a way, right? Because, oh god. Oh fuck. Okay. Oh god. Oh no. I'm scared. Tell you what. Oh, right, right. A prosperous business, right? Not that that really means anything. Is that all from Kaiki? Interesting. Oh, that makes so much sense that he's saying that, I think. Can't trust words. Okay, okay. I understand. It's almost like you would change your own... You could change your own perception of it by putting it into words, right? I think that makes sense. It's like the difference between your internal self and what you wish for versus the way you portray yourself to others, the way that wish is perceived. Oh, true. Right, right. Ooh, no smarter than a ladybug. Oh, fuck. That's why it's not gonna come true. Oh, God. I'm sick. I'm scared. Okay. Right after he just told her that you can't trust words. But, okay, okay, okay. Ooh, teach her a lesson, huh? Fuck. Oh, oh, God. Oh, the snakes. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, no. Oh, God. Oh, God. You're gonna deceive me too. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Was it, like, all along? Wait. Wait. Like, has she been trolling him all along? Because she knew who Kaiki was before. Right? So this entire time, has she just been playing along as being the stupid dumb god, right? Like very intentionally, the same way she was as like Nautico before, right? Like she's known who he is this entire time, and like, oh no, oh god, oh no. But if so, then what's the only option left, right? What is the only option left? He has to the closet, right? The closet means something. Even if he doesn't say what is in the closet, I think the concept of the closet itself is all that we need, right? But how do you break through Nautico with that, right? Because this failed horribly. This was never going to work. I should have known there was no chance of this working ever, right? Like, because she has always known what she's doing, right? So obviously this wasn't going to work. Like, I don't know, right? Oh, God. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, fuck. Okay. What's up? What's up, Karen Skihi? Oh. No, not at all. Right? I sounds terrifying. I When at what? When at what? Okay, I bet Araragi, honestly, probably. Sure, thank you. I get that one right? Maybe, I don't know. Thank you, thank you. That makes a lot of sense. Anyway, we will talk about the episode in the discussion. Okay, let's talk about the episode. Oh no. Man, I I don't know what to think. I don't know what to think at all. I should have seen this coming. I feel like I was talking about this like before. That the way Kaiki's going, of course, I don't know if he's going to be able to succeed, right? The way he's thinking about this. I guess I was so I kind of became more confident in him as time went on, right? I was sure because it's so unclear like what he himself thinks. I mean, hey, maybe even now, maybe I'm making a mountain out of a molehill here, and he actually expected this somehow that she was going to react like this. I don't think so though. I doubt it. I don't think he saw this far ahead. I don't think he thought this was going to happen. Um because again, it all comes back to the closet, right? It all comes back to the closet. How what he says to Hanakawa is that the closet is so insignificant that it doesn't matter, right? Because if the closet in some way represents some part of Nautico that is like a genuine part of her that still exists, but she hides from other people, right? She doesn't want anyone to open the closet. That is something that Kaiki himself can relate to in a way that he understands, right? The question with Kaiki, of course, because he wants Nautico to remain a god, is whether or not he thinks that's like the right way, right? Because I guess my thing about Kaiki is he's so bitter, he's so cynical. Um, he wants to be a villain for other people, it seems like, almost to give them something to like blame, right? I guess my interpretation of it, even though we have so little info, is whatever happened to Gantoe, he didn't have something to like blame for it, right? It was the way he says it, at least, is that she just died in a traffic accident. Whether or not that's actually true is unclear because he loves to use the traffic accident analogy, and I'm not even analogy, excuse, I guess, for like everything, right? He told Sendra Gahara that that guy died in a traffic accident. He told Nautico that everyone died in a traffic accident. It feels like a who knows, right? Who knows if Gantoe actually died in a traffic accident? Either way, it's like he doesn't have anyone to like blame for that kind of situation, right? Um, and because he has no one to blame for it, I suppose you can imagine that that is part of why he's so bitter and cynical about like the world, right? Is if Sendra Gahara, for example, has Kaiki to blame for everything bad that's happened to her, um, it's easier to cope with it, right? She can hate Kaiki and she can get her revenge on Kaiki or something like she was trying to do in Karen B, for example. And that's a much easier way to cope with bad things happening to you than it just being like the world itself being cruel and unfair or something, which is basically how I imagine that Kaiki views the world, right? That he wants to play the villain for other people, like for that purpose, essentially, right? And at the same time, it's like playing the villain for other people for him also represents like this disconnect between himself and other people, right? Like he's so sarcastic and cynical during this conversation with Ononoki, right? When Ononoki brings up all these things that he did like for Sendra Gahara, right? which you could say are like for like deeper emotional reasons, right? He has this he felt bad for Senjukahara. He saw her as so fragile. He wanted to like protect her and help her, right? I wonder if he saw some of himself in her in some way, something like that, right? He saw that she was perhaps going down a same path that led him to like be the way he is, maybe. Who knows? Or a similar path, right? Um, and he wanted to help her in some way, right? But because he tells himself he's just playing the villain in all of this, it's a very good method of like padding himself against anything that could possibly go wrong, right? Ononoki brings up the fact that, you know, when he starts doing things unlike himself, which in this case is like doing stuff for other people, it like never works, right? And it's not that it doesn't achieve the outcome he wants. Like with Sindra for example, he wanted her parents to get divorced, apparently. He thought that would be better for her to get her away from her mother. Um, but that the outcome didn't really end the way he thought it would, right? It's just kind of, you know, like what he wanted to achieve worked though, right? Same with like crushing the religious cult, I guess, right? He himself thinks of it as a failure, unclear why exactly, right? So he failed in that sense, but it's not like the actual thing that he wanted to achieve was a failure, right? But as long as he can just tell himself that he's just a villain in all these other people's stories, and that he was, yeah, you know, he was, yeah, he's so sarcastic and cynical about it. Then yeah, it's like he doesn't have to be hurt by it in any way, you know. Like his conversation with Sindra Gahara, right? Because he has always been so cynical and so sarcastic and so like awful to her in a lot of ways, right? Um, for a moment here, I think he genuinely opens up for a second and says something that I think is very meaningful to him, which is, yeah, in the end, when you both enter college, you guys might just break up, right? I think that genuinely is something. I think that's very meaningful to Kaiki, the idea of that being possible. I think that is very telling about why he is the way he is. And Sandra Gahara doesn't really take it like seriously in a way. She says that he's just being mean, right? Why he's saying such mean things, right? But I don't think Haikyuu is viewing it in that way. Oops, I just unfull screened. Okay. I don't think Haikyuu is viewing it in that way. What does the text flash say? Yeah, why am I saying such mean things to a high school kid? I feel ashamed of myself. And it's because he's always played the villain for like Senjo Gahara and for everyone in his life that it's like this permanent barrier between this like emotional any kind of emotional connection that he's been like hurt by in the past, I suppose, with whatever happened with Gantoe, right? So it's really like a double purpose to it. He plays the villain both to give other people someone to hate, to make them not end up the way he is, I suppose, right? It's unclear if that's really his thought process for it. And two, playing the villain creates this emotional barrier between himself and others, so he himself doesn't have to be like hurt by that kind of thing that again I imagine he has been in the past, right? It's like all of this talk about Kaiki, it always just makes me think of it was like one of the lines like the first episode where he said like things about me maybe something something. It said like maybe five times or whatever, right? Just this idea that it's so unclear, like what Kaiki's ever thinking or believing or what his motivations are, right? I guess the first episode was like that too, where he said that like the story was going to be filled with some lies and some truths or whatever. You know, you got to figure out what is what. Um, I don't think that's like a literal thing, right? I don't think some of the events in this arc have been like made up. I guess I just take it to be like there's so many things that Kaiki does and thinks and like the motivation behind his actions. It feels impossible to discern how he really feels about anything, right? And it's so fitting in a way too. Um it's so fitting, like his whole attitude about like the fake being of far greater value, you know. He's permanently like a fake in a way. That's certainly a way you could perceive him, right? It's because like even with this line, for example, I bet there's people who disagree with me that this line is this meaningful for Kaiki, right? I bet there's people who disagree with me about almost everything I say about Kaiki, frankly, because it's I feel like that's very intentional on the author's part to make you just be so unsure, you know. Like in Hana, right? Like in Hana, when he told Kanbaru after they went to that restaurant together that she could always call him if she has any trouble, right? She finds out Nimachi's dead. She calls Kaiki, he doesn't answer, right? Um, and you could take that in several ways. You could take that to be that Kaiki was like lying and didn't actually mean that when he said that he would do anything to help her or whatever. He'd always be there for her, whatever, right? Or you could take it to be like he since we know he is related to Numachi and all of this, that he knew he shouldn't answer the phone, and then in some way, that would lead to Kanbru reaching a resolution in Hana, right? Something like that, right? It's just every little action that Kaiki does, everything that you could take to be in some way villainous or mean. There is an explanation for it, like what Ononoki says here, with all of his past actions that we certainly didn't know about before. Um, that you can say it's like he did it for some other like good reason. And I guess his attitude about it, his like sarcastic, awful attitude, makes me really think like this line right here makes me really think that that probably is closer to the truth of it, right? Um, that he is much less that he's much less emotionally detached and cold and bitter than he like portrays himself, right? It's his portrayal of being like that and the effect that it has on other people, the way it makes them perceive him. That is the real purpose of it, right? That is what like creates the emotional barrier that he can like use to like protect himself, right? Because of other people perceiving him that way, right? We see that in the conversation between him and Shinjukahara, right? Hmm. So I guess, I mean, just like always with Kaiki, I guess the answer is I don't know what to say about him, right? I really don't know. He is such an enigma, you know? Um, I guess I believe for sure. Like, I guess we can trust when we're inside his head, right? At least I hope so, right? Um, that line, the scene from the first episode when he has to go when he went into the bathroom to like convince himself why he should take Shinjukahara's request, right? That makes even more sense now with what Ononoki says here about him like always failing, right? When he does something for the people he cares about, essentially, he always fails. Um, that makes sense. I for one, like what I'm thinking about. Sorry, I like stuttered in my mind because I'm thinking now there has to be a connection there between that and like Gun Toei too. But we don't know, right? That makes sense because it's like if he convinces himself that he's not doing it for another person, that he's doing it for some bad villainous reason, it's a lot easier to like to do it. It maintains like that emotional barrier both like for himself in a way if he tries to like deceive himself almost, and for like the other person, right? Telling himself that he's doing it for that reason, or that he's doing it for money, right? That's always been the purpose of money for him too, making everything like a transaction, Shinjukahara says it's bargaining. And he says he never bargains because he doesn't. He doesn't bargain either. That's too much of a relationship, right? He never bargains with somebody where it's like they can haggle with him. He makes it all a transaction, right? Like in the first episode, when he decided he was going to do it for 100,000 yen and that's it, Shinjukahara was like, oh, I can give you more. He was like, no, So no, he truly doesn't bargain. He makes it a transaction. And if he defines his interaction he's having with everyone as purely being that transaction with money, then that makes it less like he's less emotionally attached to it, right? That means there's less of him like in it. You know what I mean? That makes it easier to deal with if he does like fail, like emotionally or anything like that, right? Hmm. And his thoughts about Shinjukahara being so fragile are so interesting to me. Um, because I guess we don't know what Shinjukahara was actually like 2 years ago, really. I mean, we know that she accepted the crab, right? Um, which I suppose you could certainly say is a sign of fragility. But we also know that she was strong enough through her own will to accept the feelings that the crab took from her back, right? Um, and she did. It's not like she needed, she was able to, she is the one who made the decision to like do that, right? That's the important part of it, right? um so I guess my perception of Shinjukahara now at the very least is that she is an incredibly strong person. Right? She's like calling Shinjukahara fragile now. I don't think so at all. I think she's a very very strong person, right? His image of her hasn't changed, that she seems fragile. It's so fragile and in critical condition. That's why I think how she is today is a miracle, right? And he thinks it's a miracle, because it reminds me of what he said to her all the way back in Nisei, when he said that there's no point in overcoming your past, right? Um, Even in that moment, it's like the more I think about that, especially alongside like what we learned about him more here, um, it's contradictory in a way what he said to her. Um, not that it doesn't make sense, it makes perfect sense. It's contradictory in a way that makes sense. He, like, what he was doing in town in during Karen B, I think was specifically to like help Senju. Like he was there basically to help her in a way, right? He was there to play the villain, to get her some sense of fulfillment, right? All of this, right? Drive him out of town, get her revenge, all of this, And we saw that it worked, right? What immediately happened after all of that was done, right? Tell her that the guy who assaulted her is dead, all of this. But it's like he cushioned everything that he was saying, both in a way to make himself seem more villainous by saying, like, oh, that guy who assaulted you's dead, in a way that had nothing to do with you, and all of this, to make it sound like he's trying to insult her or something, sound like he's trying to hurt her with it. And he also says, like, oh, there's no point in changing or overcoming the past, blah, 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 while he is actively helping her change and overcome the past, right? Because it's like, you can imagine the point of that line being, if she truly was still fragile and she truly wasn't strong enough to overcome her past, then she could almost be like him in a way, right? He would like be able to relate to that. So he doesn't want to, if she's strong enough to have overcome her past, then him saying there's no point in overcoming your past, she just views that as a further villainous part of him, that she's better than him for in a way, right? But if she was still this fragile, if she was still unable to overcome her past, in a way that's like a cushioning statement for that, right? That's another way for him to help her if that was the reality of the situation, right? It's so interesting. That's why I think how she is today is a miracle, right? And it's like this line makes me think that Kaiki himself believes that he essentially does kind of believe what he said there. That he didn't think Shinjagahara would be able to overcome her past, right? That the way she is now is miraculous, that she's changed so much, that she's so strong now, Like how does he think that could apply to him, right? That in a sense, in order for his behavior the way he is now, so cynical, so awful, his outlook on life, if that really comes from everything that happened with Gantoe, which it certainly seems like it to me, that's the only explanation we have, then in a sense you can imagine Kaiki to be like the truly fragile one, right? That he himself, has been unable to like get over it, I guess, right? That's a mean way to put it, but you know what I mean, that he was like the one who was shattered by his past, by his own experiences. So seeing Shinjo be so strong, having changed so much and overcome it, I just wonder, it's miraculous as he puts it. I just wonder what he takes from that. Not a strange disease, but a miracle. For such a fragile person to survive 2 years ago, now, in the past 18 years without crumbling. But the thing is she's changed so much. She's changed so much that she's so strong. And it's like, does he even consider that? Does he consider that not everyone is fragile in that way? Is that part of why he imagines that Nautiko should stay being a god? That he views Nautiko's situation now as her being fragile, right? Because we know that Nautiko being a god is essentially like escapism in a way, right? It's her escaping having to be like a real, genuine person, right? So you can certainly compare that to fragility, and just like Senjugahara, Kaiki doesn't imagine that Nautiko could like face that, right? That if she had to become a god, if she had to run away the way that she did, then her becoming a human again is probably just out of the question in his mind, right? He can't imagine it, right? And in a sense, it's like he would apply that to himself as well, right? The mother crumbled, but the daughter didn't crumble. I don't know what's going to happen from here. But at the very least, right now, she will not crumble this instant. And I just imagine, God, I imagine so much that he's talking about himself in a way too, right? Um, hmm. Because it's like we know that Kaiki is a much less callous person than it seems like he is from his actions. He just doesn't show it to other people at all. That's for sure. He intentionally makes excuses to not show it to other people, right? He excuses his own actions in a way, right? She's not going to crumble this instant because he's going to deceive Sengoku Nautiko. So this is just like a further a him taking what he's done for her even further, right? It's like in his mind, in Kaiki's mind, he's essentially continuing what he started so long ago, right? Him attempting to make Senjugahara not crumble, right? This is just the next step of that in a way. It's so interesting because, like, from Senjugahara's point of view, this is the first time Kaiki has ever done anything to help her, right? And I guess Kaiki would agree because of the way he views these things, right? Because he would never admit that he's done anything to help her before. But from what Ononoki said, it certainly seems like he has, right? That in some part that has to have been part of his intentions, right? Um, I guess I don't want to believe, despite his actions, despite his best efforts, I suppose, that he is in any way villainous at all, right? Maybe that's just obvious, right? I just essentially like, despite all of his motivations feeling so wishy-washy and it being so unclear, like what he's actually ever thinking, I guess I just want to believe that it's always the more like the side of it that looks better for him. I just want to say that's probably the truth, right? I just think that makes more sense, you know. Hmm. So he wants to tell Nadeko. Nadeko wants him, sorry, to tell her his wish. And he has something interesting to say about that. A wish can be something that can never come true the moment you tell someone else about it. So I think this is very interesting and applies to Kaiki very well, right? Kaiki does not tell other people his wishes, right? He does the opposite, you know. He has his internal motivations for things, and he goes so far as to even deceive himself about them. His own wishes, he deceives himself, right? Like when he went into the bathroom and was trying to convince himself why he should take this job, you know? And he was literally talking to himself in the mirror, trying to convince himself why he has like a self-beneficial reason to do this, you know? Um, I guess in my mind, what I take from this is the idea that a wish an internal wish that you have, something that you want to be, I guess in like a more vague sense, not like a specific wish, right? A wish that is harder to put into words, something like what Kaiki says, prosperous business, right? That's a very vague wish, or something you imagine that Nadeko truly wants, right? Um, Whatever that would be, right? We don't know. Um, it is something that you probably can't put into words exactly, right? And the moment you tell someone that wish, it's not I guess I don't think that Keiki's saying it's impossible for it to come true, but it's more so that, like, the wish changes, right? At least that's how I perceive it, right? Is if through that connection to another person, through telling them about your wish, in a way, the wish is now different because you have tried to put it into words, right? It's like it's almost like it makes you look at it more realistically, right? It's like if Kaiki tried to say what prosperous business means, right? It would suddenly have a much different meaning than whatever you imagine prosperous business to mean, right? They say your wish won't come true if you voice it. You can also, of course, connect it to Kaiki's general like distrust and cynicism about just like the world in general, right? The idea that connection to the real world at all will like corrupt your wish and make it impossible. You know, like through perhaps through your efforts of like maybe voicing it, you could say, is a step in trying to make it come true as well, right? And that's a connection between him and Nautico as well, right? Nautico has taken that to probably a more extreme point than he has, right? In terms of whatever she wants is so locked off to her that, like, we didn't even get to hear about it when we were inside her own head for an arc, right? Why is it that if you tell someone else, your wish won't come true anymore? Because you can't trust words. The moment you put it into words and tell someone, it starts to diverge from your feelings. Exactly, right? Yeah, once it's put into words, it is essentially irrevocably changed from however it was before. Yeah, I that makes complete sense to me. Words are nothing but lies and nothing but cheats. Now that I don't agree with that, right? Because this to me, this is almost like we're throwing the baby out with the bathwater here, right? Like we're saying like because it changes it, because in some way it's like the realistic like pursuit of that wish is different than like your idealized perception of it. I That means words are nothing but lies and cheats. I don't think so, right? Maybe it makes sense that Kaiki thinks like that. Again, it fits into like his general cynicism, you know. No matter what the truth, the moment it is told, it becomes dramatized. Yeah, yeah. If you wish for it to be as it is, if you just want to wish for it, that wish can never be spoken out loud. And I guess I feel like I disagree. Just because I feel like a part of a wish, part of anything that like people want to pursue and that they find meaningful will almost always involve some form of like human connection to it, right? Like these videos that I'm making, right? The fun part of making these videos is the fact that other people watch them, right? There would be no point in me rambling to a camera and talking if I was never going to upload this video, right? Like, obviously, you know. But you can apply that for, I think, almost any kind of wish at all, right? Is the real joy that you will find from anything like that will be sharing it with other people, right? And maybe it makes sense that Kaiki has such a negative view of that kind of idea, right? I don't know what your wish is at all, Kaiki-san, so I can't grant it for you. And maybe that is also part of the point, right? The idea that if you tell another person that in some way they could try and grant it for you, I imagine Kaiki to have a very negative view of that as well, right? And that fits really well with the way that he acts, too, through, like, trying to help Shinjagahara in the past, right? You can imagine Shinjagahara, you know, that being part of, like, her wish, right, for her situation to be better, right? Kaiki tried to help her. It didn't work out too well in the end, right? And I wonder if that alone is part of why Kaiki has this negative view. That if anyone at all can perceive what your wish even is, and they try and help you with it, then it's all just going to be horrible, right? Maybe that's part of why we know nothing about Kaiki, perhaps, right? A very, very intentional effort on his part, you know? Talked a lot about my wishes already. She took the bait. Sengoku Naruto may be the least, maybe at least smarter than a ladybug. Thank you, Kaiki. That's very nice of you. But unfortunately, she's got you cornered on this one. She wants them all dead. Exactly. That's why that wish won't come true. Because you kept talking about such a wish. You can no longer grant that wish. What I have to tell you today, that's what I have to teach you today. Always wants to teach people a lesson, huh? One you've been wanting to kill, Shinjagahara and Oshino Shinobu, got in a traffic accident last night and died, and she has quite the reaction. I love this shot of the snake looking at him, right? Like the way that she like looks so shocked for a moment, right? But the snakes are so like locked at like looking at him like prey, you know? Like they know what's up, right? So Kaiki-san, you're going to deceive me as well. And that is a very so one, Nautico. I don't know what to think. I don't know if she's just been trolling us this whole time, and she has known the entire time who Kaiki is and everything, right? That she's just been playing the god this entire time. And she's known what's been going on, right? I think so. I imagine so, right? Because we know that she knew who Kaiki was before. And yeah, in a sense, she's the one who deceived Kaiki, right? She's the one who deceived him, you know? Um, it really gives Kaiki a taste of his own medicine in a way. But from like a negative stance, I suppose. What Kaiki does, the way that Kaiki tries to portray himself to other people, obviously Kaiki does bad things, right? Like he's tricked a bunch of middle schoolers or that kind of stuff, right? But ignoring all of that, right? The way he tries to portray himself to Shinjagahara is from, in my mind at least, a sense of well-meaning, for her and for himself. Even if I think the way he's doing it is like misguided. Like I guess I disagree with his mindset, of course. The way Naniko's doing it, I guess the way Hanakawa puts it early in the episode, which, God, we still haven't talked about the first 3/4 of the episode. The way, did I say Senjugahara? The way Hanakawa put it, was like her snubbing other people, right? That it's like, it's almost at the expense of others, right? That she locks other people out in this way and like looks down on them almost, you know? That makes a lot of sense about her, you know, the difference between her, the way she thinks about others and the way Kaiki thinks about others, right? And I wonder, too, if that will be part of how Kaiki convinces her, changes her mind about all of this. It's gonna be so hard. I don't know. I don't know how Kaiki's gonna solve this, right? Because even if Kaiki, like, because here's how I imagine he could do it, right? Is Kaiki recognizes the problems in his own behavior and the reality of what he's doing, right? Like, that scene with Ononoki makes that so clear that he himself recognizes himself to be so cynical and so, you know, the way he is, right? He knows that he's so bitter and, like, awful in a lot of ways, right? So let's say he, like, tries to, like, you know, take the mask off for a moment and try and, like, you know, talk to Nadeko for real about, like, his own experiences with all of that, like, his feelings, which would be very meaningful for him and would be interesting. My problem is, for Nadeko, I just don't know how meaningful that would be, because she's taken it so much further in a way, right? She is different than him. So I just don't know. I don't know. Even if like through his recognition of like himself and his own behavior, right? And that is in some way the a thing that is related to Nautico's behavior. I don't know how he is going to say anything that will convince her, right? He has so much work to do. I just don't know. I just don't know. Right? I just don't know. God, obviously, right now, like Nautica's gonna start like murdering him. So like, it's like I don't know. What are we gonna do? I don't know. I don't know. It's of course it is also very interesting that she says, you were gonna deceive me as well, because it's interesting because it's almost like Nautico. Kaiki wants other people to view him as someone who has like deceived them, right? Nautico kind of views everyone like that. It's almost like she has the same distrust for Kaiki that Shinjagahara has, except for everyone. She's had such a negative view of people and relationships for so long. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll see, right? Kaiki's got his work cut out for him. Okay, let's go back and actually talk about the rest of the episode now. So Kaiki talks to Hanakawa and learns a whole bunch of small things that have happened over the past few months, which is frankly all a bunch of stuff that we don't know anything about. Because we have no idea what has happened in the past few months. We don't know anything about what has happened in between, like, basically August and now, other than, like, the 3 days of Nautico Medusa, right? Like, that's all we know, right? There was literally, like, like a 6-month period in there that we just have no idea what happened, right? Um, so it's just all a bunch of stuff that we don't know about, right? He's able to objectively grasp the situation better than listening to Shinjagahara. I found out how Sengoku Nautico became a god, the damage that resulted from it. Furthermore, what Gai Senpai stops himself, calls her Gai Nizuko, not a senpai anymore. What Gai Nizuko did in that town. To think that she dragged that half vampire episode into all this, which is still just a bunch of stuff we don't know about, right? Because episode was there in Tsubasa Tiger, while Gai Nizuko was here doing a bunch of stuff. It all just has to be from whatever happens after Hachikuji disappears, right? Because like Araragi, when he was talking to Ogi at the end of Oni Monogatari, he said like, yeah, what came after was even worse, right? So there's definitely this big chunk of stuff that's involving episode, that's involving Gai Nizuko, involving Araragi, of course, Kanbaru, right? That we just don't know anything about yet. And I guess Hanakawa knows about it. Kaiki knows about it. We still don't. And oh yeah, after hearing all the stories, it doesn't seem like Kishot Ashura and Hard Under Blade's arrival was what threw this town into spiritual chaos. Seems more correct to say that because the town was in spiritual chaos, Kishot was drawn here. Yeah, haven't we have we said something about that before? I feel like there was something about that. It was just something about like the shrine and it like gathering bad stuff, right? Oh yeah. It was in Kabuki when they time traveled back in time and the shrine already had like the evil stuff around it before Shinobu had shown up yet, right? Right. Then that makes sense. I guess like or I assume that's going to be revealed at some point. I guess what what the cause of that is. I don't know. I feel like we have no hints of any kind. I have no idea. Gansan didn't say so directly, but it seems she was thinking that way. And this is why she wants to place a deity over North Shirohebi Shrine. So maybe, I mean, wild extrapolation here. Maybe whatever the spiritual energies that are like gathering around the shrine, maybe like if there's a deity at the shrine, in some way they would become like controlled and like be able to like, they won't just be forming random oddities and stuff all the time and just be a big mess, I guess, right? Since Araragi-kun flat out refused, a god was created out of an innocent junior high school girl, I guess. Problem there, so Hanakawa was missing the Ogi step, right? She doesn't know that this was Ogi that orchestrated the situation they're in now, right? At the same time, Hanakawa knows about Ogi, right? She asks Kaiki about Oshino's family. Kaiki says Oshino, he says a bunch of weird shit about Oshino, frankly. He says he was, like, born to be all alone and he has no family. He never had a family. Which, like, I don't know what that means. That's impossible unless Oshino is also an oddity, which would be really weird. But yeah, I mean confirmation that Ogi is not Oshino's niece, which we've known that, right? Shinobu called her the niece pretender, right? It's also interesting because it shows that Hanakawa is also very interested in Ogi, which probably makes a lot of sense, right? We don't know the circumstances under which Ogi like appeared or showed up, right? She wasn't around yet in August with all that stuff going down. Um, but the way that Aragi seems so like he's like best buds with her so quickly, you know, I guess I just imagine from Hanakawa's perspective that it seems really weird that someone calling themselves Oshino Ogi shows up and is best buds with Aragi, and they look so like that, you know. I imagine that's partially just part of why Hanakawa was doing this, you know. Hmm. An innocent junior high school girl. It is interesting that they call Nadeko innocent. I guess I don't really think she's innocent in a sense, right? There's no reason to inquire further. Huh. Have you had contact with Sengoku Nadeko? She has. So she has had contact with her. The only time we ever saw her have contact with her was in Bake, when Nadeko saw Hanakawa and ran away immediately. So I don't know how Hanakawa gets this much of a read on her from that. I mean, maybe it makes sense, right? She says someone was snubbed. I guess she was kind of snubbed when Sengoku ran away immediately, right? I don't know. I don't know. That's unexpectedly ordinary. Did I expect too much from a child? Right. God, all this stuff about people being children in Kaiki's eyes. That's so interesting. Were certainly not my impressions of her. Exactly, exactly. The impression I got from her was someone was snubbed. No, that she ignores other people. She, yeah, completely closed off. She doesn't open her heart to anyone at all, right? It's almost like what Kaiki tries to do, in a way, to, like, protect himself emotionally, I imagine. But taken to the extreme, right? Nautico's been doing it for a long time. You know, she's real good at it, right? No matter what anyone says, their words never reach her. And this is so scary. This is so scary. Because it's like, how could Kaiki break through that, right? How when Nautico has never perceived anyone in a genuine way ever, right? She has lived her entire life trying not to do that, right? To not be genuine herself and to view the words of others as almost a way to deceive her, right? Um, how will Kaiki break through that, right? How would that even be possible, you know? Oshino-san has been rather concerned about her as well. Yeah, but in the end, none of that reached her. I wonder what Oshino thought of her back then, right? I don't know. I don't know. Shinobu said something similar about Oshino being like worried about her, right? I guess he's a specialist. I'm sure he could tell something was up. It seems this is something I'd say at this point in time. It seems she's saying she's in love with Araragi-kun. It seems that's why she's planning on killing Araragi and Shinjukuhara. But in reality, I don't think she's in love with anyone. She's not looking at anyone else. Yeah, and I wonder, because Kaiki made the comparison between himself and Nadeko, in terms of like his own relationship with Gantoe and Nadeko's relationship with Araragi, like what does Kaiki think about her saying that, right? That she's not really in love with Araragi at all? I really don't. We don't really know, do we? She more or less has a keen eye. I mean, that's all he says. So it's like, was he perceiving it in that way too? But then that's interesting because it felt like a an insightful moment when he like agreed with her about the idea of unrequited love being so meaningful, right? But maybe that's the point. Maybe he's on the same page where he understands the difference between unrequited love and love for a specific person, right? Hmm. I somehow want to save her as well, but don't expect me to. I wonder why. I wonder why you want to save her. The request he was given was only to deceive her. Of course, of course. If by saying you want to save Sengoku Nadeko, you mean you want to return her to being human, think it over well. Yeah, because he thinks she's happy now, right? Yeah, yeah. Seems very happy. Someone saying that they're happy doesn't necessarily mean that they are happy. Exactly. Yeah. Huh. And I think Hanakawa would perhaps have insight into that, right? If you want to think that way, you can. He kind of, yeah, I guess he just disagrees with her. Like, I don't know, sure, that makes sense, right? Also, another Hanakawa moment, being different now after the tiger. Before, she would have never questioned the idea of someone else doing something, like, that would make something harder for her, right? It's like the opposite, right? She wanted to do everything to make nothing harder for anyone else ever, right? So her not wanting Taiki to do this for her sake of wanting to save Sengoku later, she never would have done that for a tiger. Just saying, just saying. I was planning on my vagabond way of life right after I graduated. That is interesting. that this whole vagabond way of life. It's very interesting to me because I feel like it still represents part of like her old self in a way, wanting to escape from everything, right? Because I guess I viewed it as, you know, if she escapes all these people that she like cares about in a way, then that eases her like being a burden on others, right? Because she'll be gone completely, you know. Like if she could just disappear and have no connection to anyone anymore, then you know she's no longer a burden in any way, right? Um, but I guess, you know, post Tiger, we're supposed to believe, you know, I certainly do, I guess, that she's changed, right? It certainly seems like it. So it's interesting that she still wants to pursue that. Maybe it's just for different reasons now, right? Maybe it truly is that she, you know, of course she wants to. I imagine her wanting to leave the town where she was abused and had a horrible childhood for so long. I can imagine that, like, just being a genuine thing she wants to do, right? Oh, interesting. She shouldn't try to imitate what Oshino is doing. Is that what she's doing with the vagabond lifestyle? I never made that connection before. Perhaps, right? That is an interesting concept. I don't really know what to make of that. Because I had never thought of it in that way before. But that is an interesting idea. May sound rather rude, Kaiki-san. Do you think you can properly deceive that girl? And yeah, it's like God. It's we've been said enough for so long that Kaiki is going to fail, right? Everyone else thinks it would be easy for him to deceive her, and I guess Hanakawa says that too, that she's not worried about the deceit itself. So I guess no one expected him to stumble on the first step, right, of just deceiving her, you know, and he did. Hmm. Okay, so this is very interesting about what Hanakawa could be thinking about here, because she doesn't really finish her sentence, right? She says, "I'm not that worried about the deceit itself, but you know." And then she starts asking him about Ogi, basically, right? About Oshino-san's family, which is about Ogi. Um, so has Hanakawa also made this connection that Ogi is the one behind this situation? Maybe so, right? That she's worried that after the situation is changed, that Ogi will what? I don't know, right? But maybe, right? Maybe Hanakawa is that far along in it, right? Hmm. That guy doesn't have any family. I don't have a family either. Neither does Hanakawa, in a way. Well, she has her sisters in her heart. Right, come on. A niece, or someone like that. Well, that's quite sudden. Oh, she knows a brother or sister. What gave her that idea? Yeah, no brothers or sisters. It's not that he lost the family that used to exist. It wasn't like they left home or anything. He was just born to be all alone in this world. What a... What... What does that mean? He was born to be all alone? Jesus. Ooh. By the way, come to think of it, there was such a story in the middle of the conversation. Yeah. Huh. Why did she? Yeah, it's like, why did she bring this up suddenly, right? Because of Ogi. Because of Ogi's relationship to the situation that Kaiki knows nothing about, of course, right? What's interesting is no one has ever mentioned Ogi to each other. No one has ever talked about Ogi to someone, right? I guess Aragi's talked to Shinobu about Ogi, I guess, but they're like the same person. But like Kombaru was having her, you know, talking to Ogi, but like it's not like she mentioned it to anyone, right? Um, Naruto and Naruto Medusa saw Ogi, and Naruto even thought for a moment that she wanted to talk about Ogi to Aragi, right? On the phone in the first episode, and then she didn't, right? I mean, even in this episode, it's like Kaiki doesn't know about Ogi. Hanakawa's trying to bring it up. Very interesting. Very interesting. It really just cements her as like this very mysterious force, right? God, we bring up the closet, and I mean, we talked about the closet so much already, but yeah, Kaiki wants to reject it immediately. Of course, I kept it a secret. I wonder why. I wonder why. Something so insignificant that it won't do any good. I almost blurted that. I was very close, but I was able to hold my ground. It's weird. Why did I almost say it? Because it's meaningful, because it means something. I bet if he told Hanakawa was in that closet, she would have it all solved in an hour. Like, man, damn it. Such an insignificant thing. I'm sure. So he spends a bunch of time hanging out with Nadeko at the shrine, of course. Kind of goes against Shinjogahara's like advice. He goes there every day, hangs out with her, buys her a bunch of alcohol. Thank God. Hanakawa mentioned that when Oshino was out in town, there's a cram school he used as lodging. I wonder why he visits it. I wonder what he thought he would find here, you know? we get a little Hana reference, which is funny to when he when he meets Nimachi Roka, which so he met her several years before, which I guess is when he gave her the devil leg, right? Um, I don't remember the timeline exactly of Nimachi and Kaiki, but I feel like did oh yeah, no. Nimachi did say something about this, right? About them being like yeah, about meeting him again, right? I remember. Yeah. For instance, in the future, when I become acquainted with Kamburusuga. Thank you, thank you. And it's the day of the plan. It is the day of the plan. Talking to Sindrugahara. He'll call her tonight as his last report. When I consider this is my second to last conversation with you, I do feel a bit lonely, and this is interesting. I wonder if she thought she could trick me with such a thing. I felt somewhat offended, so he responded with words he doesn't mean, as he says, God, it's so hard to tell. It's so hard to tell what either of them are thinking in this moment, you know? I just don't know. To get in close contact with you like this made me remember 2 years ago. It was rather fun. Responded with something I didn't mean, although it might have been rather heartless. I suppose. It just feels so bitter. I don't know. And she, like, laughs, right? Or she makes a noise. Creepy. She's not someone who laughs that much. Was it a laugh? Was it just a noise? I just don't know. No, that was 2 years ago. She's different now. She's more than a different person. So he does perceive her as a different person now. I guess it's just hard for him to accept that she's not that same fragile person that he's been viewing for so long, you know? Hmm. No need for that. Quit with the bad jokes. It's like he wants himself to be out of her life, right? Oh yeah, this was my idea about what Hitagi end could mean. Is like it's Hitagi end from like his perspective, right? It's like when Ononoki, with Ononoki talking about how it's almost been like a long chain of events of like Kaiki trying to help Sindrugahara in a way, right? Even if from her perspective it's not like that. It's like this is it, right? It's like this is the end of that in a way, right? He wants to, he wants to be done with her after this, I suppose, right? Hmm. And yeah, we bring up yet again just that Araragi, if he deceives Sengoku Nadeko and she remains a god, which at this point I feel like that's not gonna happen. But maybe. That would just be so sad if that did happen. The real problem would be Araragi. Yeah, it really would be, right? Um, Especially because Aragi and Kaiki are so like opposed in this sense, right? They're like opposites in a lot of ways, you know. Then yeah, of course, Aragi, if he hears that Kaiki did this, let alone the fact that of course he wouldn't be happy with Nadeko remaining a god, um, then of course he would do more than anything to go see her and try and change the situation, you know. God, and Kaiki tells Shinjikahara to say like all these horrible things, right? Who's more important to you, me or Sengoku-chan? Which for one, it seems so telling about the way Kaiki views like romantic relationships in like this very negative way, perhaps. Um, and also just I think he misunderstands Aragi in a sense. I really think he does. Because I feel like if Aragi was faced with this dilemma here, right, that he has to choose Shinjigahara or Sengoku, I really feel like he might choose to help Sengoku, right? That's just the way he is. That's the way he is, right? Um, and more than anything too, because he's like that, that's like why Shinjigahara started dating him in the first place, right? Like yeah, like way back when she was like explaining why she was in love with him, you know? Hmm. Of course, as we know from Skiki, those are all just excuses, and love is far more complicated than that. But if their lives are on the line, why can't she force herself to do something so minor? And he thinks of it as so minor, right? Because in a way, it's like he does that to people all the time, plays like that kind of role, right? Aragi would just see through it. He probably would. Yeah, yeah, no. He wouldn't think Sindrugahara would ever do that. Like, there's no way. Yeah. Hmm. For you, interpersonal relationships are just bargaining, and he says he's never bargained once because he doesn't. He doesn't view them as bargains, right? That's even too much. It's like a transaction, right? That's how he wants to view it. No room for bargaining or negotiating. If you, by chance, want to save Sengoku Nadeko, it's not too late to do so after you two enter college, which is so interesting. It's kicking the can down the road so much. And we get what is, in my mind, a very meaningful scene for Kaiki, I think. When he asks her about what she likes about Araragi. The part that isn't you. But then if that's the case, even though it's a process of elimination, the selection criteria for her lover revolves around me. I guess. Thank you. Thank you. I guess again it's because I imagine he projects like himself and Gantoe in some way onto Senjigahara and Araragi in some sense, right? Or perhaps Nadeko and Araragi, right? Because again, it's like if Gantoe started dating someone other than him, right? Um, like I mean that did happen, right? Conver's dad, right? And he was in some way torn up by that, something like that, you know. In this case, it's almost like Nadeko is him, Senjugahara is Conver's dad, and Aragi's Gantoe, right? It's like he's getting a chance almost to like talk to them, right? You know, talk to Converu's dad almost, right? Get an explanation for why things are the way they are. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's interesting, right? If Aragi-kun wasn't Aragi-kun, I don't think I would have fallen in love with him because he has such a negative view of like love. Yeah, he doesn't follow it, right? I don't know if he gets it, you know? I don't know. I need Kaiki backstory so badly. I want to know what happened between him and Gantoe, right? Like, oh god. Man. Because I guess it's Gahara is the person who like won in a way, right? Unlike him, she is with the person she loves, right? That's the important part. And like him too, there is a person on the side who has this unrequited love for the person that she's in a relationship with, you know? Hmm. In the end, when both of you enter college, you guys might just break up, which is such a sad way to view it, and I think that really is how he feels, right? Like of just about things in general, you know. That's why he like erects this like emotional barrier between himself and others, you know, is the idea of things ending like that, you know. Hmm. Can you tell me why you said such mean things? And he thinks of himself as having said mean things too, but I don't think it is, right? But maybe in a sense, because of him wanting to protect other people from like those kinds of negative thoughts by himself playing the villain for them. I guess maybe him feeling ashamed makes sense, right? Maybe. From like his perspective, you know. Things don't go well today. It's the same as if things didn't go well from the start. It's even worse because now you have so little time left now, right? God. And Sandra Gahara says that she still hates him. Yeah, despite everything, which is very interesting. I don't know how Kaiki feels about that because that's both his goal, right, in playing the villain in her life, but it also just has to feel awful because he does genuinely care about her, right? Why is she saying something so obvious? Is she going out of her way to speak ceremoniously like that? And I guess in his mind, he thought her attitude towards him was never going to change, that it was impossible, you know. And again, I suppose that's the point of him playing the villain, you know, is he thinks it's insurpassable, I suppose. Never want you to show your face before me and Aragi-kun. Yeah. Don't worry, I've never broken a promise. Neither past nor present, you've never lied to me once, and I wonder if that's true. I wonder. That's I don't know. Huh. So Ononoki shows up to talk to Kaiki. We've already kind of talked about this scene a whole lot, but yeah, she just kind of talks to him about for one, yeah, him being an Oni-chan is unwavering, of course. So she still talks to him, despite the separation between him and Guy Nizuko now. For one, if Guy Nizuko is like playing Kaiki in some way, which I really think she was, Ononoki probably just doesn't know about it, right? So like, yeah, I don't think she's like continuing to be part of that plan or something, you know. And she brings up this idea that Kaiki always fails when he does things that are not like him, right? Which again, it's like I guess my perception of that is things that aren't like him are things that go against like him playing the villain in other people's lives, right? Especially this one. This one's really flying too close to the sun. He is actively doing something for Sindrugahara, right? Something that she feels the need to like thank him for, basically, right? Not at all like a villainous role, you know, which is very much unlike him, right? And that's like what he's afraid of, right? Hmm. Is someone else's girlfriend that important to you? It's such an interesting way to phrase it, right? To think of it that way. Someone else's girlfriend in your old relationship. But it doesn't have to be a relationship in that way, right? It's better to leave other people's misunderstandings alone, even if it's the misunderstanding of an oddity. Interesting. This isn't like you, Kaiki. You do things that aren't you, and you really will be in a bad situation. It's not like you haven't expressed such failures before. Yeah, his other past with Shinjagahara, it's all been related to Shinjagahara too, at least recently, right? In terms of like failing in the pursuit of trying to do something for another person, right? It's like, God, it's so tragic that it, like, from his perspective, it always happens like that, right? Hmm. So he crushed the religious cult that Shinjagahara's mother was in. And it's not that he failed at that, but it's that her mother just moved on to a different cult. Yeah. A different, like a higher up one even, right? In the end, that girl's mother merely moved on to another cult that's higher ranked. Yeah, so it made it worse. Yeah, yeah. You have an interesting view of things, right? He really has nothing to say, right? Yeah. I merely harassed a religious group I noticed was trying to take cut of my profits, right? It's just a bunch of nonsense, right? It's also true that I didn't net all of that much money, so I don't care what you think of it. Hmm. I'm not going to be at a loss because you think I'm such a good guy. That thing was a failure of a job. And then it happens again. It happens as well with Sindrigahara, and her parents being divorced, right? Yeah, yeah. Kaiki might do something unfitting for him again. Yeah. I wonder if Ganizuko, if that is truly her worry for him, or if this is all just further just like trying to convince him to do it in defiance of her, right? I don't know. I don't know. The reason you ruined the Sindrigahara family, you drove them to a point where they had to get a divorce because that was the only option left, right? Because he thought that would be better for Sindrigahara. Yeah. Yeah, to get her away from the horrible cult, right? I mean, yeah. And I mean, it's impossible to talk to him. Like he doesn't engage with this like at all. He just says all this sarcastic stuff, and like I don't know. I don't know. You sure know a lot. How do you know all that? But don't tell anyone because it embarrasses me. I actually like believe that. So yeah, sure. He didn't understand the feelings of the daughter pining for a mother. Yup, that's right. Man, I totally didn't understand that way back then. I should be careful not to repeat the same errors. Life is long. I'm gonna continue doing my best. Just like, God, he's so frustrating, huh? I love him. I love him. You really like that all your life. That's right. My personality has been like this all my life. I kind of don't believe him. I kind of don't believe him that it's always been like this. I think something happened, but I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you yourself really don't actually know what you're doing, and that is such an interesting thing for her to bring up, right? Is whether or not Kaiki himself understands his motivations and what he's doing. It's so unclear. It's so unclear. I don't know. I don't know. Is there anyone out there that knows what they're doing in their own mind? Maybe not. Maybe not. Right? Maybe not. I'm sure you can easily deceive Sengoku Nadeko. But he doesn't. But he doesn't. With an ordinary train of thought, that's how it goes. But in times like this, you always fail. You have. What a shot, huh? At the least, I think Gahan-san thinks that way. It's about all I can tell you. And we're back where we started the discussion, for the most part. Oh god, it's so much stuff in this episode. I feel like there's more I could talk about, but like I don't know. I don't know. So much stuff, so much stuff. I love Kaiki so much. Um, Such a cool character, such a cool character. It's very cool how, like, through your perception of him being so unsure, it makes him, like, feel so much more of a meaningful character than, like, what we even know about him, right? It's like, it's very intentionally using the information that we don't have about him and all these questions we have about him to expand him as a character, like, in your head, right? I don't know, it's so cool, it's so cool. But man, next time, I guess we'll see what's going on with her, huh? Hmm. Kaiki can do it. Kaiki's a specialist, right? He got this. He got this, right? I'm sure there's a reason Guy Nezuko is having Kaiki be the one to do this, essentially, right? I'm sure he's the one who can do it, right? He's got it. He's got it. I believe in him. I believe in him. So yeah, I guess that is it. So please, if you enjoy my videos, subscribe, leave a comment, tell me what you think, and I will see you in the next one.